Julie made 25 international long-distance phone calls to London last month. The scatter plot below shows the length and cost of each phone call she made. Now, today we're going to be going over questions 11 through 15 on this video. The first one, number 11, says scatter plot. Scatter plot is your keyword. Before you even get started, you need to list your 3 types of scatter plots. You have a positive scatter plot, which, mind you, sometimes may have some outliers, but generally most of the dots seem to be going in an upward direction from left to right. Okay, positive going up. Then you have negative, where you, again, could have some outliers. And again, most of the dots seem to be going in a downward direction, down from left to right, negative. Then you've got none, where they seem to be all over the place. If you read, it says, which conclusion is best supported by the scatter plot? If you look at this, you can clearly match. I don't see a positive here. I don't see a negative here. But I do see, or it does seem as if this is all over the place. So this one says, the length of the call increases, the cost of the call increases. That would be positive. The length of the call increases, the cost of the call remains the same. That would be constant. The length of the call increases, the cost of the call decreases. That would be negative. And then it says there's no relationship. Clearly, there's no relationship. It's not connected whatsoever. Okay? Scatter plots can be very tricky. It's your job to trust what you know. This right here is a quick, easy guide that you can draw on your formula charts during your brain dump, or you can draw it on the actual question. Everything in your answer book belongs to you. So draw your hints if you need them. Number 12. What are the slope and y-intercept of the graph of the linear function shown on the grid? Your key is slope and y-intercept. With slope and y-intercept, I know I need 2 points. On a graph, I know I can do rise over run. But if I had the 2 points, I can find my my slope and y-intercept using Desmos. So I'm looking for M slope and B my y-intercept. So let's go to Desmos and let's figure this out. On Desmos, first, you need to make sure that you're on Texas STAAR mode, because this is the only mode you're going to be allowed to use on your STAAR exam. So if you need, you could go to desmos.com/practice and click the STAAR mode. Now, once you're here, you're going to click the plus sign and add a table. We created the table ourselves right here. We're just going to put it in to the table on Desmos, knowing that our X values are -6 and 2, our Y values are 0 and -2. Miss Calico loves the color green, but it's not as bright on the quarter grid. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold this down so that my options pop up. And I'm going to choose orange because it's very bright. I'm also going to try to connect my dots to make lines. And then I'll start plugging it in. My X value was -6. My Y value was 0. My second X value was 2. My second X value was -2. If I look at my table now, my dots have been plotted. I can hover over them just to check. Okay. And I also have a line now. Now, that does not mean my work is done. I'm still looking for a slope and a y-intercept. So my next step is to type in the cheat code, right? So I need to highlight the second bar and type it in separately. Here's my keys. Y1. I'm going to need a squiggly line next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down shift and click the button above tab for my squiggly line. Then M, X1, Notice my lines are not overlapping yet, so I still need plus. So hold down my shift, hit the plus sign, and then B. I need to put in the entire cheat code. Otherwise, I will not get the right answer. Once I do have my answer, however, I see that my M, it says, is negative 0.25, and my B is negative 1.5. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down so I don't get confused. Negative 0.25, and my B, negative 1.5. Okay, first off, I can get rid of anything positive because I know my M's are both negative. So this one's out. Negative, 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 positive, negative. That one's out. All right, cool. I also know that my y-intercept is negative 1. So negative 1, negative 1. Awesome. My B, however, is negative 0.25. Well, I need to ask myself, 0.25 is equal to what in regular everyday math? When I deal with money, 0.25 is a quarter. And I know how many quarters make $1? 4. But if I have 1 quarter, that would be 1 out of the 4 I need to make a whole dollar. So my answer couldn't be 4. It's got to be negative 1/4. Next. A preschool has a rectangular field and a rectangular playground. They are similar in shape. Each dimension has a field. Each dimension of the field is 3.2 times the corresponding dimension of the playground. Which statement is true? All right. So this is a question about similar figures. With similar figures, I need to remember that I create proportions. I create 2 fractions. Okay, and I need to compare them. Now, the first fraction, I can make that one up. It says a rectangular field, right? And it says the field is 3.2 times the playground. So I know the field will be larger than the playground. Cool. So let's say the playground's the smallest one. Let's say that's what this is. This is the playground. If this is my playground, let's say I have dimensions, 2 by 6. Okay? 2 by 6. If I have the dimensions 2 by 6, I need to know that, if this is 2 by 6, the next one, if I make it even bigger, if I make it 3.2 times as large, 2 times 3.2, and if I don't remember, Desmos is a graphing calculator, hence or emphasis on the calculator. So 2, and then drop down, get your multiplication symbol, times 3.2, it's now 6.4. So that's now 6.4. Ooh. Okay, 6. How about what's 6 times 3.2? Change that so that it's a 6 here. 6 times 3.2 gives me 19.2. So I now know my new dimensions. Awesome. It says, which statement is true? It starts talking about area and perimeter. This is where I need to go to my formula chart. I need to remember area of a rectangle is base times height. Perimeter is adding all 4 sides. So let's see. If I wanted to find area first, I need to know that my original area would have been 2 times 6, which is 12. My original area would be 2 times 6, which is 12. Well, what would be the area of the new one? 6.4 times 19.2? Is 122.88. That is huge. But my question is, how much larger is that than 12? So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to see, well, is it 6.4 times larger? If I take 12 multiplied by 6.4, do I get 122? Let's see. Nope, I get 76.8. So maybe that one's out. Let's try 10.24. If I take 12 and multiply it by 10.24, 122.88. So that one's my answer. But just in case, I'd go ahead and check for perimeter. Perimeter is when I add all the sides. So let's see the perimeter of the first one. So if that was area, let's find the perimeter. Perimeter of this one. So 2 plus 6 plus 2 plus 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. 2 plus 2 is 4. 12 plus 4, 16. All right, let's try this one. 6.4 plus 6.4 plus 19.2 plus 19.2. I'm not that great with mental math, so I'm just going to type it in. 6.4 plus 6.4 plus 19.2 plus 19.2. 51.2. All right, 16 and 51.2. I see a difference, but is it going to be a 6.4 times difference or a 10.24 times difference? So let's see. 16 times 6.4. Gives me 102.4. Totally, absolutely out of the range. Completely wrong. So that's too far. I can't go any higher. So both of those are automatically wrong. The only one that makes sense is B. Now, this is something you'll get one question on STAAR over this, over similar figures. It can be a little difficult. Take it step by step. Draw your shapes. Find the area. Compare the areas. Find the perimeter. Compare the perimeter. Okay? That's all you have to do to handle a question like this one. Number 14. Which function is best represented by this graph? Again, I have a graph. On a graph, I know if I need to find the y-intercept or if I need to find the slope. The first thing I would do is travel up the y-axis to find my y-intercept. My y-intercept is clearly 3. So B is 3. I simply need to find M. Now, M is a little bit trickier because to find M, I need 2 points or I need to rise over run, right? So I'm going to use my B right off the bat to eliminate 2 dumb answer choices. First dumb answer choice I can get rid of, F, because it's got a 6. And H, because it also has a 6 as my y-intercept. My y-intercept is the first thing I do to identify the dumb answer choices. Now I'm left with 3 and 3 as my y-intercept and negative 2x, negative 2x. I mean negative 1.5x. Okay, great. I can do this 2 ways. I can take my points, find rise over run. Or I can label those points and plug them in the decimals. This instance, I'm going to do rise over run because on questions 1 through 5, I use the points. So here we go. I rise. There's 1 box here. And I ran 2 boxes. So my slope is going down like the sexiest man alive with his eyebrows. My slope clearly is going down, so it's going to be negative. Negative 1/2 is my M. So that leaves me with J. And then the last question, number 15. It says the set designer for a play painted some background scenery on a large piece of plywood. He used a 13-foot pole or 13-foot long pole to hold the piece of plywood upright, as shown in the diagram below. What is H, the total height in feet of the piece of plywood? Well, I need to notice H goes all the way up, right? So whatever I find, I'm going to have to add 2 to it because my triangle stops 2 feet short. But I noticed that this is a right triangle. And I've got outside numbers. When I've got outside numbers on a right triangle, that tells me I'm using the Pythagorean theorem. If I notice on my formula, I've got A, B, and C. My A and B are legs. My C is my hypotenuse. I notice that C is clearly here. I have a hypotenuse. I seem to be missing a leg. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set it up. A squared, or H squared in this instance. Well, actually, no. Let's keep A squared. And then B squared, 5 squared, is now equal to 13 squared. Because my hypotenuse is always what's slanted or leaning. All right. A squared is plus 25 is now equal to 169. I know that I'm going to have to subtract 25 because I need to get A by itself to figure out what it is. I didn't do anything to A squared, so I'm going to bring it straight down. 25 minus 25 cancels out. And then 169 minus 25 is 144. I know from my brain dump that I always take the square root. So the square root of 144, if I type it into Desmos, the square root of 144 is 12. So A is equal to 12. This part is equal to 12. I just have to remember, H goes all the way up. So it's not only 12, but it's 12 plus 2, which means H is actually 14.